Okay, guys, I think we're going to start. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to Tel Aviv University webinar, and a special tribute today for the alumni of Tel Aviv University. And my name is Ozer-Armon. I'm the Vice President of Public Affairs, Development, and Alumni Affairs. I'm very excited to be here with everyone today. We have a very exciting and special guest today. We have Liad Agmon, Tzipi Ozer-Armon, Omer Keilaf, and of course our moderator Meir Orbach. I think we're going to hear a lot about what they do, who they are. I think one amazing common denominator is that all of them are amazing graduate and alumni of Tel Aviv University. We wanted to celebrate, especially during this time, that a lot of you are still at home, and some of you are still under this COVID-19 situation. We want to bring you the amazing things that Tel Aviv University is doing, and of course our amazing graduate. This is the place to really thank every one of you that already participated and started and helped our emergency campaign helping students. And I know that a lot of you already gave scholarships to students who were really, because of this situation, struggling to end this semester. And I got to tell you that we really, our heart was filled because a lot of you joined us. And for you that didn't join yet, I know you can reach out to your friends' organization and to Sigalit, the head of our amazing head of Alumni Association. And really, I think we should all be proud, because just a few words, and then I'm going to give the floor to Meir. I think we should all be proud that Tel Aviv University was really one of the first to really start and handle COVID-19 in the really, I would say, the most admirable way. First of all, from the online aspect, as we said, things in a week and a half, things went really rapid, and we went online, and all studies, all courses went online. I think this is an amazing thing for university, really leading in the world in this aspect. And of course, you know that over 50 labs right now really are doing amazing work on researching on this pandemic issue. And you know that, I don't know if you heard in the news, it was all over the news, international and Israel, of course. Today I heard it was over Fox News as well, that Israel is doing also with the IDF, amazing research for soldiers, and of course tests for soldiers, and of course keeping up in the university. We have a special lab that is trying to do and research, and of course trying to help the country, Israel, with the situation and cope this. Here in Israel, for the rest of you that are around the world, we're in a much better situation, I think, than a lot of places in the world. We are getting opened. It seems very positive. We still are afraid of the second wave, but it's very positive. And I think I'm sending from here our love and our really best wishes to you guys that are still home. And I think that it's going to be hopefully soon over. And I've been told to just say that the questions and answers are in the end. And I am here to thank everyone in the name of Tel Aviv University. And now I'm going to give the floor to Meir Orbach to lead this amazing panel. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, guys. Meir.
Hello, everybody. I'm Meir Orbach. I'm the editor of Calcalist. In Calcalist, responsible for all the startups, the VC, and all the high-tech ecosystems. We have this evening 3 amazing people with us. Tzipi Ozer-Armon from Lumenis, Liad Agmon from Dynamic Yield, which was about a year and a half ago bought by McDonald's, and Omer Keilaf, which is the founder and the CEO of Innoviz, an autotech amazing company. Tzipi, I would like to start with you. If you can tell us a bit, for those who don't know, and there are just a few of us who don't know who really Lumenis is, and what you have been through in the last year or so.
Okay, so good evening, good morning, depending on where you are. I'm very happy to be here, a graduate of this amazing institution, both for my MBA and my BA in economics. For the last 8 years, I'm managing Lumenis, CEO of Lumenis. For those of you who do not know us, We are the #1 medical device company in the world. We are selling half and half to medical procedure or aesthetic procedure. You can see kind of in the background, you can see the type of machines that we're selling. We are the innovator behind many of the procedure and technologies in our domain, with 4 R&D centers, 2 in Israel, 1 in the States, and 1 in Europe, headquartered in Israel. Proud to deliver what we call better technology for better patient care and saves people life. And recently, a few months ago, we've sold the company again. That's my 3rd exit with the company, for over $1 billion to a large private equity firm from Asia called Baring. Nice to be here. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Liad. Liad is also an Tel Aviv alumna, and is the CEO now and the founder of Dynamic Yield, which Liad, please tell us what Dynamic Yield does and who most surprisingly acquired it in 2019.
So Dynamic Yield is a software company in the personalization space, and now we are a subsidiary of McDonald's, which is a small company you may have eaten in one of our restaurants at least once in your lifetime. So Dynamic Yield, about 270 employees, about I think 170 in Israel and about 100 around the world. We have a large office in New York and a large office in Berlin. On April 2019, we got acquired by McDonald's, and we stayed an independent subsidiary. So we now service McDonald's and the rest of our customers. So we have about 300 customers globally. Very, very large retailers you've all heard of, fashion brands, like global luxury retailers. And we mainly operate on their e-commerce websites and in their apps.
And last but
specifically in McDonald's, we do personalization in the drive-thru. So it's a bit of a different use case.
And last but not least, Mr. Omer Keilaf, also a Tel Aviv alumnus. Omer, you are not acquired yet. So can you tell us a bit about Innoviz and what Leader exactly is for those who don't know?
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. So Innoviz is developing technologies for autonomous cars. Specifically, we are developing a sensor which is called a LiDAR. Don't really see it now. Okay, so this is the sensor. So people ask me what is a LiDAR, and it's really, I want to use the platform, and doing this on live, it's actually easier to do this. So you can actually see, this is what the LiDAR provides. It's a 3D image. Every pixel actually gives you the distance for an object. Today you see cars with those things. Those are mechanical instruments that you have hundreds of lasers inside, and they just rotate around the car and see the world in 3D. So what we do is replacing those ugly looking devices to fairly small devices. This LiDAR that we provide scans the scene by lasers and allows the car to see the world in 3D. And we also identify and classify objects. So all of you know Mobileye. Mobileye use cameras. Those are 2D images. And they basically run their neural networks in order to translate the raw data of the camera in order to identify and classify people and cars. So we on top of the LiDAR that we provide, on top of the 3D raw data, we are also developing the software, the perception layer, that translates the 3D image or video into object detection and classification. So basically a car would use a LiDAR, a camera, and a radar, and we are providing the LiDAR and the computer vision. So this is a program we have with BMW, and this is our focus right now. BMW is targeting to launch their level 3 cars, autonomous driving, end of next year. So this is what Innoviz is doing. We are around 260 people, mostly located in Israel. we have a few areas in the world, R&D in Europe and in Germany, where BMW is located, and some sales location in the US, Japan, and China.
Amazing. About a few weeks ago or a month ago, Israel was shocked during COVID, the middle of the COVID-19 stay-at-home era. Intel bought through its Mobileye subsidiary the Move It application for more than $900 million, almost close to $1 billion. It was a big surprise that during COVID-19 days, Intel is acquiring a startup in Israel, huge investment, a big declaration for the company. And I want to ask all of you, what do you think? Is this something we're going to see? What do you think about this exit at all? And again, I'm starting with you, Omer, because something that a bit close to your area. And Phil, do you think this is the revival of the autonomous cars, or what do you think? How do you see it?
I think it's great news. I think it's a great statement by Intel, pushing the gas further and becoming a meaningful player in autonomous driving. Mobileye so far was playing in the role of tier 2. If you think about the platform of the car that transform it into autonomous driving, there are many sensors and a lot of cyber, etc. But in Israel so far there were no players in the driving decision. Those activities were mostly led by companies in the US, companies that were spawned from the DARPA project, many startups that started in that activity, and Google. And it requires a lot of investment to really operate such an activity. And in Israel, most of the startups in my space, in the automotive sector, were mostly focusing on developing technologies for that platform, but not really being the brain behind the wheels. And Intel now making this move, is setting Mobileye to become a strong competitor versus really big companies like Waymo and Uber. And I think that having Intel making such a large investment in buying another technology that will allow them to be a strong competitor is really good news for Israel, because it means that more technologies will be needed to develop this platform, and it will also develop areas that were not yet developed in Israel. Those are things that are related to the computer vision and driving decision not being yet addressed here. So obviously for us, it's great news, and I think it's it shows that autonomous driving and automation as a whole is something to stay and to grow.
Liad, you went also through an amazing exit. You were bought by McDonald's. I think if you think about 100 companies that require you, McDonald's was not in that list. You were not, I don't think you were ever thought you were been working for McDonald's. What do you think about this exit? Not just the numbers, but also, is it good for Israel? Do you think we'll see more of this in the next year or so, or we are going to get into the era of COVID-19 economy?
I mean, first of all, McDonald's, we really thought over the years that McDavid is going to buy us, but McDavid is not big enough. So we tried shawarmas, we tried pizza, and we ended up at McDonald's. I think it's an outlier, the McDonald's acquisition. I don't think we're going to see similar acquisitions at that scale. There is, I think the McDonald's, again, I mean, it was published that it was a $300 million acquisition for a burger company to buy a software company. I think it's a big outlier in a sense of how much money they spent. Oh, sorry, my daughter just went in. Danny, I'm in the middle of a meeting. Yeah, that's the COVID-19 scenario. But we have to, Danny, I think what we see is that there is an appetite of large non-tech companies to acquire tech companies, but it's usually much smaller acquisitions. You know, Nike bought an analytics company out of Boston a couple of months after we got acquired by McDonald's. You know, Walmart is buying companies, and you can see that sometimes the integration doesn't work well. Walmart bought Jet.com for almost $3 billion, and they announced last week that they're shutting it down. It's very hard to integrate a startup into a very large company. I don't know if we're going to see more of these acquisitions. I mean, for sure, what happens is that with COVID-19 is that any company that had a lot of leverage is in trouble, right? I mean, Hertz just filed for Chapter 11 over the weekend because anyone who has a lot of debt and their business now, their cash flow is in trouble. So I'm sure that the last thing they're thinking about is acquisitions. Companies with a lot of cash and without a lot of debt, they are, I would say, they have a better opportunity. But a lot of the mindset is right now that there's going to be many opportunities at good unit economics over the next 12 months. So I think that there's a lot of waiting to see what companies are going to get acquired for, you know, cents on the dollar, etc. And I think that's why the Movit acquisition is pretty interesting. They paid full bucks for it.
Thank you, Liad. Tzipi, you are also acquired again and again. What do you think about the Movit acquisition? And you've been through just acquired. Can you tell us a bit what happens in this time? The CEO, what does it feel? The pressure, you know, a bit what we say inside the rooms, the feelings, what's happening, the tense.
Okay, so first I would say that selling a company is a very exciting process. Whatever you see in the TV programs, that's life. For us, we were looking to sell the company to a financial investor, which means that people that can write a check of over $1 billion. And usually these people, they're very professional, they're very smart, and you need to present to them the company. They challenge you for your strategy, they challenge you for your execution. And it's a very mind-stimulating kind of process. And it's a very nice recognition. You know, we sold the company 4 years ago for like $500 million. Now we sold it for over $1 billion. So it's and for a private company, the ultimate recognition is to say, okay, we've created so many hundreds of millions of value in these years. During the process, I would say, you know, we are not a startup. We're a company that is kind of is manufacturing and is selling. And I have actually 3 things, you know, that I've learned, you know, from this multiple experience. The first thing that you must make sure when you're selling a company is to make sure that the company will continue to operate and execute. I mean, there are lots of rumors. I mean, Calculus was one of the ones that was kept on advertising in the paper that we're in a sale process. And you need to make sure that you monitor the rumors and that the least amount of people is involved in the process, so that all the management and the employees can be focused on the execution. That's very, very dramatic. The second thing is that such process, you know, they take time, and you never know whether they're gonna happen or not happen. I mean, even during the process, you know, it looks like the deal is gonna be signed, and then the deal is not gonna be signed, and so on. So when you're making a business plan to the potential investor and the time goes by, you have to deliver upon these business plans. So you have to put a plan, not just to say, oh, I'm going to make, you know, so-and-so, I'm going to double the business by the following 2 quarters, because if 2 quarters go by and you didn't deliver, you've lost the credibility of the management team. And if you've lost the credibility of the management team, that's it. There is no deal. And the last thing, which I believe is very, very important, is that you never know, as I said, whether you're going to sell the company or not. And although there is a lot of pressure to deliver on the quarter results, you must make sure that you have the right strategy in place and you continue to invest in the future development of the company. Okay, and not just to say, all right, I'm making a short-term kind of exercise, and I'm just selling the company now, and I don't care what's going on. I'm going to reduce the R&D spending for the company to look kind of better. That doesn't work. And I think that if you do that, make sure that you manage the management attention, you manage the short-term results, you manage the focus of the management and employees and the long-term results. It's a good recipe and to a great success. And I can say that, you know, although we've done it a few times, every time it's not less exciting than the previous time, and we keep on learning every time how to get better and better in doing it.
Good luck next time.
Yes, we're looking forward.
We hope to see $2 billion there. It's the next step, $2 billion.
Tzipi, you should probably add animated GIFs to your product. It's another 400 million just there.
And you have to say AI, and
Yes.
that's it. That's it. You got.
We're adding AI now. We're adding AI. Maybe that will bring us to the 2 billion.
Yes. As you all know or feel it, all of us are in the middle of the COVID-19 economy and era. Some of us are still stay at home. Some of us are just getting out of home. And I would like to ask all of you, what do you feel we are in the state? What is the situation now relating to COVID-19? Are we getting out of it, or we are still in the middle of the crisis, the middle of the pandemic? And what do you feel should be done now regarding to it? Liad, let's start with you.
Yeah, well, I think it's a huge question that you can probably have the experts from all over the world discussing it. So I'll speak it from our angle, of course. I don't think the crisis is over at all. You can see, you know, what happens in the US right now, and everyone is expecting the second wave. Many stores are shut down, and many stores that have reopened, the traffic has not come back. You know, restaurants are still closed. So it's we are really, I think, in the beginning, because the analogy I used to give when we're speaking with when I'm speaking with employees and with friends is, you know, when you're swimming when you're in a swimming pool, and if I put your head under the water, if I put it for 30 seconds, you go up and it's okay. If I put your head under the water for a minute, it's an uncomfortable feeling. You resurface, you breathe some air, and you're okay. If you're under the water for 10 minutes, it's the end of the story. It doesn't matter now if I'm taking you out after 15 minutes or 60 minutes. I mean, you're done. And I think that a lot of these businesses that need cash flow to survive, it's now a matter of time, how long can they survive without cash flow? From our perspective, because we are catering to the e-commerce part of retail businesses, of course, e-commerce has gone up significantly. So we see a huge surge in traffic for our customers and in sales online. But if you're a company with 700 physical stores that are all shut down, and your e-commerce activity, you know, even if you're doing 500% more in sales online, it doesn't compensate for 700 stores. And then, of course, each business has its complexities. If you're in the hotel business, it's one thing. If you're in a restaurant business, it's another thing. You know, for example, like some you know, restaurant chains are facing supply chain issues. You know, in the US, there is a shortage of meat. Can you think about, you know, companies don't need to sell hamburgers that there's no meat supply. So there's other complexities to this that we are seeing. But I think one thing for sure is that it's not something that's going to be over in a month or in 3 months or in 6 months. We're going to see different ways in which it's going to affect businesses over the next couple of years. Not everything is negative. We see already the kind of acceleration to the remote work. You know, we're doing this on Zoom now. It's something that you would never imagine you would do a few months ago. We see Facebook and Twitter and, you know, a lot of Silicon Valley companies saying, yeah, now they're opening up, not just work from home, but they're changing the culture so that they can hire employees globally versus next to one of their offices. So it's going to lead to a lot of changes in the long term in how people think. But I also think regarding work from home, that I think some of the press that Silicon Valley is getting, I think is a bit of an overreaction. It's only been 2 months that people are, or even less, that people are working from home. I don't think it's the first choice of most employees. I mean, people like to come to the office. They like the social interactions. They like meeting with people. You know, as a CEO, I can walk around and have random conversations with people. You don't really go on a random Zoom call for 2 minutes with someone just to ask how their weekend was. So you lose a lot of things when working remote. So I think that, like in the last week, we see all this work from home press. I think it's exaggerated a bit. And when life will go back to normal, I think in that aspect, at least, I think we're going to see still the office is still going to be there. People will want to come to the office, maybe not every day because you can work from home in some areas. So again, you ask a very general question. I'm answering from our narrow perspective.
I'm only looking for your perspective. I don't expect you to look from the perspective of the president or something like this. Okay, Omer,
I mean, you could say the president is back to golfing. So,
yes,
so
business as usual. Omer, you're a startup, still raising funds. You don't have the back like Liad has the back of McDonald's, Tzipi has their funds back. You need to earn your living now. Do you see starting to feel the influence of the COVID-19? How was this time for you?
Well, Innoviz so far raised $252 million. We closed our last round last year. It was bigger than we initially wanted, and obviously we're now very happy about it. Everybody needs to adapt, right? To gain back some of the lost time and extend the runway, because you never know really what would be the end of or the end effect of this process. So money-wise, I mean, runway-wise, we are in a good position. Now it's a question about the market. I think the kind of projects that we're involved are usually 3-4 years anyway. It's nothing that starts in a few months and goes to the market. So this bump of 2-3 months shouldn't have a great like a large effect. So I really think that in general, the way that we work with our customers, we don't really see a lot of change. Most of the engineers that we work with are disconnected from the production line, which was very hurt in the automotive. So their work wasn't interfered. The big question whether the loss of revenues of those companies will translate to lower R&D budget in the next few years. I think this is mostly, because it's anyway a long play, it's mostly a competition question. It's a strategy of the company where they want to be 3-4 years from today, because anyway, it's not relevant for next year or 2 years from today. And the COVID-19 will probably flush out, screen out those companies that anyway were in a bad situation. Automotive is a long desert to cross before you get to a product on the road. We are working with companies that are well funded. We have an engagement with BMW. I don't think that, I haven't seen any change in the product. Maybe it's becoming more tight as the schedule is becoming more tight as always. So I think so far we haven't seen a lot of change. I do, we need to see how next year, when they need to set their budget for the year and see if something is changed. But so far, any program that we've been engaged with is on track, or you could say it's a fata morgana. I don't know how to say it in English, but engineers now, they want to outperform, they want to make more progress. They are now at home and they have more attention to talk with you. That's also something you should be, make sure that you understand that the people you work with are now more engaged, just because they want to show their bosses they are making more progress. So far, we haven't seen a slowdown. And of course, there was a delay of 1 or 2 months in some places, but because they were not less accessible, but haven't seen a big shift.
Do you think it will be, if you need another funding, do you think it will be more difficult for you? Or since you're doing a long-term business, it's not relevant for you? If you think about funding in the next year or so.
So, we're not in A round, B round stage. We're in a growth stage. So it will mostly be decided whether we will be able to increase our sales. We are a company now with a product that is manufactured, and we have a certain revenues, and it needs to grow. It's about execution, as Tzipi said. You can't raise money based on a dream in a company that has a large investment in R&D every year. You start to need to show growth of business. So I believe that our product is now coming out to the market. I really believe this product is going to be a huge success. So I think that when we'll be in the stage that we need to raise money, I think we'll be okay.
Okay, great. Tzipi, you're a totally different stage than the other two companies. You're selling by a lot, but for you it was also kind of a shock, the COVID-19. First, because you work a lot with China, and China got the COVID-19 first, started it even, and got out of it first. And second, because you have to produce products and sell it worldwide. How do you feel? How was the COVID-19 era for you?
Okay, so first, I think it is a shock. I think it's nothing that we came close to in terms of experiencing. For us, I think that we were quite fortunate by the fact that we have a significant business in China. We have around 30% of the business that came from China. And the fact that China got it first, it allowed us to continue and sell the rest of the business, that was 70%, while learning how to deal with the situation in China. So we actually used the first quarter to learn how to deal with the situation, okay? To learn how to deal with the supply chain, how to deal with forecasting, how to deal with scenario planning, how to start doing kind of to leverage the time that you cannot visit the hospital, but at the same time engage the physician that they would like to buy your product later on, because actually they have now more time, okay? So if you develop the right contact for them, and you do like a webinar like this one, and if you do good training to the employees, and if you develop the right programs for the hospital, you know, that maybe you delay the payment and that they will not pay anything for the first 2 months or 3 months to make it easier for them, so to develop the right business model. So we got the right, I think, you know, we were fortunate that we could play with China and to learn how to deal with the situation, so that later on, when it started kind of spreading worldwide, we already had the experience of scenario planning and of building kind of the flexibility. I would say that from our point of view, you know, we are like, usually, you know, we're very, we are a business whereby, you know, we can say, okay, if we're doing Q1 last year, we did this year we're launching a new product, so we'll do X plus Y, okay? I think that what the coronavirus or the COVID-19 learned us is how to operate in a totally different way, okay? The word of annual operating plan has got no meaning anymore, okay? Because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know when the markets are going to be open. You need to move to scenario planning. You need to be working in a totally flexible way, very, very creative. Every day you need to evaluate your decision and take a new decision. You need to develop a lot of, I think your dog is barking. I think that you have to make sure that you develop a set of alert system, you know, to give you the right alert on what's happening in the market, but not to confuse yourself with data that you do not need. Just the data that will impact you in your decision making. I agree with Liad. I think the COVID-19 have created what we call the new normal. The world is not going to be the same after the COVID-19. It's going to be a different world. I think it accelerated many things that should have happened in any way, you know, kind of. And I think that we all, as kind of as CEOs, as managers, have to adapt and take this as an opportunity to develop much more flexible organization that can adapt much faster to what is kind of needed, and at the same time make sure that we continue to take care of the safety of our employees.
We feel that China is a bit over the COVID-19. Do you also feel it working with China? They started buying, they started looking at more, or they are still in the COVID-19 mode?
No, so China, I think that there is something very nice about China, and I think that if you want to characterize a country that is best positioned to deal with the COVID-19 situation, this is China. Okay, it's a dictatorship. It's very simple. Okay, if there is an issue, they force everyone to a lockdown, and everyone is in that lockdown. Not like in Israel or in Bnei Brak. Okay, and it's very clear, because if people are in a real lockdown for 3 weeks, you know exactly who is ill and who is not ill. So China have managed the situation in a very good way, whereby they took care of, in terms of the recovery and stabilization of the health situation. They also took care of the economy. Basically what they did is that you were not allowed to lay off any employees until the end of February. So until the minute that they said, okay, we are over it and you can come back to work, you were not allowed to lay off any people. So it means that in terms of the economic recovery, okay, businesses basically continued, which is very different than kind of what we see in Israel with the 25% kind of unemployment, but you can only force it in China. And now basically they're going to start and do all this stimulus. At the end of the month, there's going to be all the conclusion of the political party, which is in charge on how to stimulate the economy. We're already seeing, you know, them starting kind of to buy. There are some domains that we are actually seeing even growth year over year. Okay, which is even to us, it's kind of surprising to see that there is that they managed to do it so quickly. And I believe that China will come if there will not be a second wave sorry. I think that by the end of the year they will come out of it totally. If there will not be a second wave, you know, I mean, there could be a second wave. Of course.
I have a question that interests, I think, a lot of us these days. Do you think that something will be left after we'll start? I know in a few months we'll start, go back to work, go back to the offices. Do you think something out of the things we've done during this era, work from home, Zoom, or anything from the work procedures, will stay with us, or we'll get back to the place where we have been, let's say, January or December of 19? Because a lot of people are just waiting to forget the COVID-19, and a lot of people still are want to say, hey, I like this era, it was good for me. Omer, what do you feel?
I think the thing that probably will stay the longest will be people working from home. I'm sure everybody acknowledges that it's you know, we all experienced it. We had the opportunity, a unique opportunity to really do a huge experiment of sending us home and try to do the most. Everyone can say that they were surprised about how well that actually worked for them. So I think, as I think Liad said earlier, or maybe I'm wrong, that even for them, many of them actually outperformed in this situation. And it's similar to us. I mean, we have software engineers that, you know, and, you know, architects that suddenly had time to do things they couldn't do it before. So I'm sure this will stay longer. I think that video conferencing was something that we less used, although the technology was available, and there are many benefits. I think some of the meetings that we are doing on videos are much better. I think the audience is much more, I would say, the culture of discussion is better. People understand that there is only one person who is talking. People come more prepared for the meeting with presentations. People go on time and leave on time because it's very easy. You don't need to move from one place to another. So, usually, I think in general, multi-people discussions are just really much better in this way. And the people that are not in the office are feeling more comfortable to take it if they can. I'm sure that I will never travel to Tel Aviv in the middle of the day. If I will never travel I will only use this.
But if a worker will ask to work from home, would you consider it, or once getting back to the office is getting back to the office?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and we are doing that. I think that people who can actually do their job at home, I don't see a problem with that. Of course, if he can't do his job, because people are dependent on him and he need access to the lab, obviously that will be more difficult. But if people are actually outperforming working from home, I think it would be a stupid idea not to allow it.
Tzipi, what do you think will be left to us after the COVID? We'll forget this thing, COVID-19 or Corona.
Yeah, so I think that at first we will continue to be paranoid a bit, that at the moment, our sensors are much more alerted than before. We keep on, collecting all data, what's happening, how many procedures are happening in each hospital, in each state and so on. So we are much more alert than before to what happened. And I think that we will continue to do so. I agree with Omer and Liad. There will be more usage of the remote technology, working from home, but also something which is kind of I would share that we are participating in large conferences. Like 15,000 physicians are coming to a place. We're spending tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on a conference to kind of demonstrate our technology. And during this time, because all the conferences were canceled, we started to do kind of to use online webinars and online marketing. I would say, to our big surprise, in some cases we get more leads from the online rather than we get from the traffic on the floor. Okay?
It saves you money, and it saves you a lot of money.
It's not only that it saves a lot of money, kind of on the floor, you manage to get, people go, they come, they see, you get 10 minutes of their, attention. If you manage to convince them to register to a webinar, you got 1 hour of their attention, whereby you've got their full attention,
like now.
Exactly, right now, that you can present and share everything about what you do. So as a result of that, I think it's of no surprise that you get more people interested in the product because you got the opportunity to tell your story. So I think the world of conferences, I think, is gonna change. We were debating, we have because we're a global company. We have a global quarterly meeting whereby all the management is coming from all around the world, and people cannot come now, so we said, okay, we will do it online. And then we were thinking, would we do it online going forward? Kind of, okay, for Q2 we'll do it online, but let's say that everything is back to normal in Q3 or Q4. Would we allocate kind of this 1 week, or would we still do it online? And we basically said we want to do it face-to-face, and out of 2 reasons. One is that if you have a global business, then the hours simply do not work. There is only, like, between Asia and the US, if someone wakes up at 5 o'clock or someone goes to sleep at 1 o'clock at night, then you have 4 hours of overlap. Okay, that's the maximum that you can do. And second, I think that we would still need to maintain the kind of the face-to-face, the time that you are not just focused, but the time that you make all these small talks, the time that you allow yourself to brainstorm, to lean back, to think about, and so on. So I think there will be a mix, but definitely more on the online. And I think that we will become much more sharper in terms of how we use our money in marketing. Much sharper.
And Liad, to you, what do you think will be left for us after it, besides lunch napping?
I mean, frankly, I mean, I think that when you're in the middle of a storm, it's not responsible to think about long-term how things are going to happen. You know, it's literally been 2 months. People are just starting to get back to the office. So we're not in a, like the world is going to change, but the new normal has not been set. There is still so much. So I'd rather wait. I mean, there's no real advantage of being a first mover here. I'd rather be a second mover or a third mover. So for example, we didn't get back to the office yet. So, you know, we told the employees that want to come to the office, they can come to the office. We don't, if you don't want to come to the office, don't come to the office, work from home. It's not the right time to make any big decisions. There's so much unknown. We just need to tactically look at it week by week, you know, on an ongoing basis. Like our Berlin office is already, you know, folks are coming back because they feel comfortable there. New York, of course, is completely shut down. So frankly, I don't know, and I think that predicting right now would be wrong for me as a CEO. I just need to wait and see, you know, tactically what needs to happen over the next couple of weeks, and then revisit it. You know, we saved this year. You know, it's so. Again, we are an enterprise sales company. You know, our sales model requires flying over, you know, meeting with large teams, multiple meetings, and of course our customers are all over the world. So you can imagine how much we spend on travel. So what we saw is March and April, our sales got hit big time. Any deal that was not closed before, let's say, the second week of March, got postponed. But you know, coming May, last week we had our best week in our history in terms of new business, because people are buying again, and they're buying through virtual meetings, etc. So one thing that for sure happens is that I'm going to spend less on travel this year, and I think that next year as well. Of course, conferences and events, which is also a big spend for us, we're saving a lot of money by not doing them. But you can only not attend events or not travel to customers if everyone else is doing the same, right? It's like the prisoner's dilemma. If my competitor will travel to meet with a prospect, I cannot do the call via Zoom because they're going to be in a certain advantage that I'm not. So as long as everyone is acting the same, yeah, there's going to be a lot of new interesting ways to work more effectively. So we just have to wait and see, frankly. I can tell you, even with Israel, with the office opening, I don't know if you've read the regulations of how to work in an office in Israel right now. You need like 5 PhDs in philosophy to debate the meaning of these really ridiculous rules that really don't make any sense and contradict each other. So you can take the stance where, you know, okay, I want to buy all these separators now, and everyone has to, I don't know, like, you know, disinfect themselves with the thing that Trump is drinking. Like, you can go crazy about it, but when you actually read the regulations, it doesn't say much. And you know, when you start thinking about it, again, I've almost 3,000 square meters in Tel Aviv. Like, I would have to spend about $40,000 on buying all these separators that will go to the garbage bin in a month. So I decided to wait, and then to take a more liberal interpretation of that. So you have to stay 2 meters from one another. Okay, so one employee will sit to the left side of the left table, and the other one will sit to the right side of the right table, and I've got 2 meters. Like, there's just so many stupid things of really. At the end of the day, I'm not going political here, but at the end of the day, I would call it as the industry. When I look at how the government is treating that crisis, these are a bunch of really amateurs that don't understand how the world really needs to operate and how people operate and how companies operate. So you've got, like, on Friday, they tell you one thing, on Saturday, another thing. And one thing that businesses need is predictability and the ability to plan. Now, the people who are in government, who are in charge of managing this crisis, they're a bunch of clowns. So I need to manage my company with certain ways of predictability when there's a bunch of clowns making changes every day. So it's complicated. It's complicated. And it's especially frustrating when I see what happens in other countries that are not being run by a bunch of clowns. You see what happens in New Zealand. You see what happens in Germany. You know, in Germany, I could have planned the opening of the office 30 days before because the government was very clear at what's going to happen over the next 6 weeks. So I could plan accordingly. In Israel, you know, we live in on a coconut island. You know, it's very different to run a business here. So ask me in a month and tell you a different answer because there's going to be different rules. We have a whole new government since last week. For now, it's chaos, and we're trying to manage the chaos. And I don't think it's going to change in the near future.
Tzipi, I have a question from the audience. Daniela is asking us, how is your feeling to sell a company again and again and again? Was there something different each time? Does it change from owner to owner?
Mayor, it's the check, of course. That's different every time, no? It's a new check every time.
First, it's a new check every time, and we love to do it. Okay, and it's very different. I would say if I look at the two processes that we had, and at the public offering that we did, these were totally different type of processes. You know, every owner has got a different perspective on how they want to manage the process. If you're going with one bank versus another, like, you know, every bank has got a different kind of approach, and they guide you in a very different way. So the process, you know, on the one hand, there is a very clear kind of recipe on how you sell the company, okay, from the stage one until you know, kind of to the data room, till you're fully executing. But all the details, all the ins and outs, all the dynamics, everything was, I would say, everything was very, very different. And I think the fact that the company was much more mature, and Liad is right, the check was much bigger, okay? Then you have to, it's different buyers. The people who can write big checks are different private equities, much larger private equities, much more sophisticated in terms of what they're asking and what they're looking for, and that requires you to be much more prepared with more details and more management attention. You know, it's not a speedy process, and it takes a lot of time.
Okay, great.
But it's still very exciting.
A question for Omer. Elon Musk, Tesla CEO, says that LiDAR is not needed for the autonomous driving revolution because camera and radar sensors together with AI algorithms are sufficient. What do you think about this? And it's Elon Musk said, you know.
That's my favorite question.
By the way, Elon Musk also say that the corona is a fake virus and that we should take care. So Elon Musk may be right sometimes, but maybe wrong sometimes.
The thing is, you know, Elon Musk is a CEO of a company that sells a product which promises that one day it will convert into an autonomous car, but really nobody really believes it's possible because they're not using the right technology. But he's selling the car, right? He says that you should buy the car now. We promise you that in a year or two, we will download a new software and you'll get a new capability. He's basically selling a product. So, you know, it's my word versus his in this situation. So I don't think, like, if it was an expert from the university that would say, look, I've showed everyone in a research that you can do an autonomous car without a LiDAR, I would take it more seriously. I think that Google, who's been around for many more years than Tesla, we're trying to develop an autonomous car, and I don't think that Google engineers are less capable than Tesla in running computer vision. And if they thought they can do an autonomous car without a LiDAR, I'm sure they would try to do so. But you see that they are heavily invested in developing an autonomous car, mostly focused by using a LiDAR. So I don't think it really means a lot, when someone who is trying to. I give a lot of credit to Elon Musk. I think he's an amazing person. In this case, I think it's it's a position statement rather than a really there's something behind it. And if you talk to any other car company, they would tell you that the rule of thumb for autonomous car, or basically anything automotive, which is related to functional safety, basically it means that any decision made by a computer on a safety element, safety critical, must be based on seeing a problem by two different sensors. So if a camera fails to see a problem, you actually are left with nothing. And even today in a Tesla, when you are running your autopilot, you are required to hold the wheel and look at the wheel, look on the road, because if the camera doesn't see anything, you're doomed, because the radar is unable to see things that the camera isn't. And we all know that camera, are limited in low light condition or too bright condition. And sometimes actually the problem is with the computer vision. There is a long list of things that could happen on the road, which the camera was, computer vision was never trained to understand. If someone pushes a piano into the road and nobody ever tagged a piano, the camera would not understand what it is, and you might crash into it thinking it's a shadow. A LiDAR would see it, because even if you won't understand it's a piano, you would see it. And I wouldn't want to drive in a car that might not understand what he's looking at. And you see Tesla crashing into objects in on the road, like a concrete wall which was painted as the road, or a truck that was standing in in a strange way, and the camera just didn't understand what it is. So I think it's still, I'm asked about this many times, because Elon Musk is a figure, and I think I think that the industry owes him a lot, because the competition for the car makers are mostly coming from Tesla, and they are not shy in taking new technologies to the market. But I think functional safety is something that Tesla is really underestimating when they're talking about autonomous driving, and that's something that other companies are.
Thank you. Something that we didn't discuss a lot, and Liad, let's start with you. We got a few questions regarding employees. First, and I want to combine a few questions. How do employees reacted to the new change of business and everything? And first, do you think it's now there are a lot of employees outside looking for jobs, and what do you think about it? This is a good time for them to start looking for jobs. Is good time for you to take workers. But first, tell us what were the feelings of the employees when they understood that instead of what happened, let's say December 2019, when everything was blooming, growth, and everything suddenly breaks?
Well, I think first of all, in our case, because we have financial stability, there was no layoffs. We didn't do any salary cuts. I think the first thing is that something that people took for granted before Corona, after Corona, is like, yeah, hey, I have a job and no one cut my salary. So that's already a plus and value that we could have provided our employees, because we have I would call it, we have fewer cash flow constraints right now. It did affect our planning, of course. We froze hiring and we paused a few projects, but all our employees remained employed with us. We actually had, over the last several months, a few employees that were already about to leave. And so first of all, like, we had an employee that WeWork was about to hire, and then WeWork went sideways, and he stayed with us. So we feel like we are the Hotel California. I mean, many of cases, like in the last 2 months, there were 2 employees that they had job offers from other companies, and then Corona hit, and then they said, well, actually, it's not that bad in Dynamic Yield. Maybe I should stay. So I think we were, it helped us. I also think that in Israel, in the last couple of years, there's too much venture capital. There's too much free or cheap money in Israel, and a lot of companies raised a lot of money. And I'm not 100% sure that many of these companies should have. It was justified for them to raise so much money. And there is lack of talented employees in Israel. So salaries have increased year over year in a material way. And that, together with the weak US dollar, is creating a problem for startup companies. So it becomes kind of a race of like keeping your employees, because it only takes one absurd offer to an employee to completely confuse them about kind of quote unquote their market value, etc. So how do you balance it? And I think I hope that Corona is going to bring some sanity into the hiring market in Israel. And because there was a race that is not healthy in terms of these offers that I've seen floating in the market, because just companies were desperate to hire. So I think now that hiring is slowing down a bit, it's always a good opportunity to look for a job if you're interested in another job. Like I don't think that I think there's fewer opportunities now because of companies they pause hiring or slow down hiring, but that's gonna. In a year, it's going to be back to normal. So unless you're completely in a suffering mode, you can just stay and wait a few months, and there's going to be these opportunities. I think it's a great opportunity. Well, 2 months ago, I thought it was a great opportunity to join public companies where the stock was depressed, and you could have gotten stock options or RSUs at a very low price. But that's less relevant to the startup world. In the US, I think a month ago was an amazing timing to switch between two public companies.
Omer, how do your workers reacted to the suddenly changed atmosphere?
So we started by working at home. We try to allow the engineers have direct control on many setups. We kind of seen this coming, so we worked on automation of a lot of processes. We are a company that is actually producing. So our production line is not in Israel; it's actually in Germany. But we have stations here that are used in order to test those systems and calibrate them. So that actually was allowed by the 15% that was given, and we try to use them at most as possible. Other people work from home, and we use that time also to allow more automation and remote control. In regards to hiring, so we still hire people, but based on projects that are at higher priority, we didn't let go of people or reduce the salaries. We try to more look at future activities that we can push. We are engaged with a serious production vehicle, so we can't really slow down. We are actually asked to speed up. So it's a very strange situation, because everybody around us is slowing down, and we're actually pushing the gas because we need to catch up with a program with an automotive company. So it's not a very easy situation. We rely that this is a good bet. Pushing further and get our product to the market in order to increase revenues. I think that as a startup, you always need to plan versus your budget and runway, but versus milestones. If I'll slow down and I won't be able to achieve meaningful milestones and revenues, that doesn't make sense. I mean, that's losing today. I mean, I can make a decision to slow down, but basically I will never get to a milestone that will allow me to raise another round. So I need to stay focused on that.
By the way, Mayor, we hired about 20 people since Corona. So think about it, 20 of my employees never met anyone besides on Zoom. And the funny thing is that we heard, go ahead, Mayor.
I always hire someone by Zoom. Is it?
You know what we found out? It's not that bad. Of course, there's nothing like being in the same room together, but it works well. I think we're very happy with the new hires. And the funny thing is that some of the feedback we get is that, they really like the company culture. Even though they've never been physically in office, somehow the culture and the people they work with somehow it gets transmitted over Zoom and over like group conversations that are virtual, which is so these are 20 people that switched jobs during Corona. They joined us. They've never been to the office, never met anyone in person, and they already feel part of the team. And we just can't wait to actually meet them physically. But it's a weird situation. And in some cases, some employees, some new employees, they got worried about it because it's scary to leave a job and join another job that is all virtual, right? I don't know if some of them, they may even think that we don't really have an office until they physically visit it. So it creates this funny situations that we never thought we'd be facing.
Okay, great. We are just about to end. I want from each one of you famous last words, something optimistic for the end, for the next year or so. Tzipi, let's start with you. Something optimistic, please.
It's going to end. I think it's going to end. I think it's going to end. We'll just get better. And I think, that we have to look at everything in life as an opportunity to be, more humble. Do not, kind of take things for granted. Learn to appreciate the things that we have in life. Restaurants are going to be open, I think, tomorrow. And suddenly, restaurants that are open, this is a wow for us. So we learn how to appreciate the work that we have. We learn how to appreciate the ability to meet the people that we like. And I think that we will become stronger out of it. I think it's an unfortunate, kind of situation, and many people kind of suffered and died and everything. But we have to take kind of the opportunity out of it and to become stronger and more humble. So.
Omer, famous last words.
Humanity will prevail. I think I agree. I think it was an amazing social experiment that we were never taken part of if we were asked to do it, and everybody learned from something from it. I spent more time at home, which I would never do. I never did for a very, very, very long time. So I met nice people there, seems to be. And I think, everybody learned something from this. So it make us better people took something from it.
And Liad, your famous last word?
I agree with what Tzipi and Omer said, but I think that the biggest thing is really to acknowledge that we are privileged, right? Like the ones here on the panel, and probably a lot of people that are joined these scholars after this. If you have a job and you have a steady income and you didn't go bankrupt and you're not in a financial ruin or in a or you didn't lose anyone, you're already like a privileged person. So it's really saying thank you for the simple things in life, and it brought, like, you have to be humble about these things. You can make all these grandiose plans and then suddenly something like that happen. So it's back to the simple things. And I see it, by the way, I live next to the Yarkon Park. And, I see a lot of families now doing picnics in the park. I was in Dizengoff 2 days ago in the evening. People are just sitting outside chatting. Like, it's literally back to some simple, basic human interactions. So there's a lot of things to take from it for being better and humbler and consume less and to spend time with people you love, which is what's important in life, in my opinion.
Thank you very much to you all. Thank you very much, Tel Aviv University, for the amazing webinar.
Thank you. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.